my name is Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today it is a revisit video on the 2020 MacBook Air that Apple was charging £400 and something to repair. This one here, in case you haven't seen the first video. So let me just do a quick recap, just so you know, in case you haven't watched that first video. So basically, this is a really nice looking MacBook Air. It looks perfect. The previous owner took it to Apple because it wasn't working, and they were quoted £480 something because they said there was water damage. If you look at the back plate here, you can see there's a tiny little bit here, and I found a little bit by one of the chips. So I bought it off eBay, and I was trying to fault find it. I pinpointed the fault on, well, there might be numerous faults, but one of the faults is, well, it's not working, but we're not having the PPBUS G3 hot, which is one of the main rails, if not the main rail. It's jumping about all over the place. It should be 13.1 volts, and we're getting kind of like 5 volts, 12 volts, 7 volts, 3 volts. It's just all over the place. So I was trying to fault find that. So I was following the path of the PPBUS G3 hot. So I thought it might be something to do with these two MOSFETs down here, because it looks like this is where it's generated. At the time, I didn't have a spare board, so what I did is I just swapped the MOSFETs over because I thought then I might get a different kind of reading. I didn't. It was still jumping all over the place. Then I took off the chip that had corrosion on, because on this chip here, this one here, there was actually quite a bit of corrosion around it. Took the chip off and I found that one of the pins was definitely dull. So I put fresh solder on that and then put the chip back on. Still the same result. It's jumping around all over the place. Now, when I plug in a charger, what it's giving me is basically 5 volts. It doesn't jump to 20. What should happen is it should jump up to 20 volts when the charger's communicating with these chips, which might make you think these chips are faulty. These are like the USB-C MUX chips. The problem is that I'm not getting the enable to these chips, and also I'm not getting a stable voltage going into these chips. And I think that's the reason why these are not working. I don't think the chips are at fault. I think it's the voltage feeding it which is at fault. So I kind of put the, you can see it's just under 5 volts there. So I ended up the video thinking, not knowing what it was and asking for help, which is what I've got down in the comments. I was thinking it is this chip here, and this chip here is a ISL 9240. It's down as U7000 on the actual schematics. Now, it's a 40-ball BGA chip, which is going to be a nightmare because you can see it's shining away there. It's like a fifth or an eighth of the size of my fingernail. So it's really, really small. So it's going to be a nightmare. But if it needs to be changed, it needs to be changed. Now, I was thinking about buying another board, but then I looked back at my previous buys, and I knew that I had a couple of MacBooks that I was meaning to get around to. And look, I've got the exact same one here, exact same model, exact same everything, with really bad water damage. So just to show you, here's a rose gold one, and this thing is absolutely covered in still. I mean, even here you can see corrosion on a backplate. There's that much water in it. There is corrosion and stickiness absolutely everywhere on this thing. Yeah, look at all this stuff here. So this has a bad case of water damage, but somehow this one here is jumping up to 20 volts. So that means that that PPBUS, the G3 hot, must be okay. You can see here it will start at 5 volts and then very quickly it will go up to 20 volts. There you go, 20 volts. Yeah, this is the right way around. A few people thought I might have had this plugged in the wrong way. It's not. This is the correct way to plug it in. So now, why am I not using this one? Well, let's see if you can hear this clicking. Not sure if you're going to hear the clicking. Basically, there's clicking coming from this area here. I'm not saying it is the CPU, but people are saying that if there's clicking coming from it, the CPU has been fried. And if I was to go across the power supplies feeding the CPU, I believe they're these ones here, I am getting a complete short. It's not a low one like 2 or 3 ohms. It's a complete short. So watch this. If I go across here and look at my meter, you can see it's like, I think 0.3. Well, that's annoying because earlier on when I did that, it was at 0.3. But anyway, look, 1.2, 1.3, 1.3 again. But bearing in mind, there will be my leads as well that will affect it. But look at this one here, which I'm hoping, this is the one I'm trying to fix. I'm hoping the CPU on this one is okay, because can you see the reading is much higher? Yeah. So I'm happy to use the really badly water damaged one for spares. If I had known that I had this in the last video, maybe I could have gone further. But you know what? It's just as well I didn't, because I probably would have taken off the ISL 9240, because I believe that is what's creating the voltages for the PPBUS. Now, I've had numerous different comments about this, which is fantastic. Just quickly, because I was on about, loads of people commented about the vibration feeling that I'm getting on the MacBook. Apparently, it's as simple as a grounding issue. So when you're using a plug like this, I think you're going to get it. But if you were to use, take that one off, and if you were to use one of these, I got this on like some other fix, but look, check this out. Apparently this is the grounding, because I was wondering why you got these ones with a longer lead. I thought it was just because people needed a longer lead. But look, it's got metal in there as well, so it's going to ground this pin here. And on this one, it doesn't ground that pin there. So I believe if you use one of these and it grounds the pin, that tingly sensation, which I believe is the 50 hertz, so it's vibrating at 50 times a second, that's the electricity supply going through you, but obviously in a safe way. But you're feeling that and it's grounding through you. So some people said if you were to take your feet off the ground, you wouldn't feel that. Or if you use one of these, you're not going to feel it. I thought that was very interesting. But we can try that out later if we get this working. If I'm honest with you, it's going to be highly unlikely that I am going to get this working, but I'm just filming it because it's a revisit video and just to sort of say thank you for all the help I got and just to take you along with me. You can always fast forward to the end of the video, and then if I'm successful, you can go back and watch it, because sometimes people don't like it. They think I'm wasting their time. I'm not wasting, well, I'll say now, I don't want to waste your time. It's a process that we're going through, and I'm bringing you along for the ride with me. Sometimes I am successful and sometimes I'm not, and that's the whole point of these can I fix, trying to fix videos. It's not a how-to video. Anyway, there was one comment that jumped out at me because the guy is just so knowledgeable when it comes to repair. AR, Anonymous Repair. He has got a YouTube channel. Please check him out. He doesn't have a huge amount of videos because he doesn't do YouTube full time. He repairs things and he occasionally puts up a repair on YouTube, but it's he really knows his stuff. So whenever I see his comments, I just take note of them. And luckily, I've read this one here and I have found something going by what he said. I'm not saying this is the fault, but he says that, I'll flash it up on screen, what he put down, but he believes that there's a short. Now, the weird thing is, I didn't think there is a short on PPBUS because when I go across PPBUS, there is no short. But I have heard Lewis Rossman talk about, can you see here, this is the PPBUS? I have heard him talk about an active short, which means a short will only occur when it's on, when it's working, when there's voltage flying through it. If you look here on this one here, can you see I'm going to be getting a similar reading on that same PPBUS. So there isn't a short on the PPBUS as far as I can see, but we definitely know that there was corrosion up by this chip here. And Anonymous said to double check for shorts around the U7650, and he gave me some components to look at. He said check the capacitor C7651, which is this one here, and if I check that one, you will see that is that ground that side? Yeah, that's ground that side. But if I go on that one there, again, it's a good reading, isn't it? Well, there's nothing there at all. So if I was to go onto this board here, you can see that that is actually giving me a reading, but then it will go into the meg ohms. So yeah, it's a different reading, but it's definitely not a short. But he also said to check the inductors or the coils L7670 and L7690. Now I would have never thought to check them because I was looking for PPBUS G3 hot because everything else is coming after that and I haven't got G3 hot. So that's where I was looking at. But look, check this out. So these are the two inductors here. This one here is the 7670, and if I go between a ground and here, this is just acting like a coil. Yeah, so you can see there that I'm getting in the meg ohms, and if I go onto this board here, which is generating the right voltage even though it's not working, if I go onto here, you can see we're getting a similar reading. See, it's growing, and now we go to the meg ohms. But check this one out here, and this is now why I've started to film. I've got a 40 ohm short. Now, often 45 ohms will not be a short, but look, it's not doing it on this one here. Can you see? We're in the 1000 ohms. No, we're not, we're in the meg ohms. So that's not right, is it? So there's something on that that's causing a problem. And check this out. If I go back up to this chip that I was working on, let me go this way around just purely because I understand the board more this way because I've been used to working on it this way. There is some capacitors here next to the one that he told me to check that is showing a short as well. So if I was to go here and if I go onto that capacitor on the right hand side, can you see I'm getting a 42 ohm short, but yet on this one here I am not. Yeah, and also a capacitor down here, one of the tiny ones. Is it that side there? You see nothing there, but on this one, again one of the tiny ones, I am getting a 45 ohm short. So there's definitely some shorts happening around that chip. Now let me go to the schematics to show you what that chip is in relation to those inductors. Okay, so this is using Paul Daniels software, the Flex Board View. So really good stuff. So if you have a look here, this is the chip that had corrosion around it initially, and this is the one that Anonymous Repair told me to look at. Now I have got a abnormal short on this one here compared to the other board, you know, the 44 ohm short, and also on this capacitor here. So this pin here, pin 17, which is, I'm not sure, P3V3G3 hot underscore blah blah blah, don't know what it means, and also this one here, which goes to this capacitor here, is P3V3G3 hot. But anyway, if I was just to take this one here and if I was to go to search and then go down into the actual schematics, is this fella here. So this is the chip here, and this chip is to do with VR 5 volts and 3.3 volts. And if we look at the inductor, which is shorting, well, not shorting, but you know, there is an ohm short on it, it's L7690. Now can you see it is linked because it goes through here, goes along up here, and then it goes through this capacitor, and then from this capacitor it then goes through into this chip here, and it is this 3.3 rail here. So I'm wondering now, have I got faults on this chip? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the chip off and I'm going to see if the shorts go from this capacitor and also this inductor. If it does, then I'm thinking that the chip is faulty. If it doesn't, then maybe I can find out more where these are actually going to. So if we go back to here, then you can see that this is the inductor on this side of the board, which is faulty, and then it goes everywhere. But all along this row of capacitors, I have that I have that short. But yeah, I've looked really closely at these capacitors. I can't see any cracks or anything into them. Also, it goes under this chip here, which would be unfortunate because again, it's a BGA chip. So yeah, let's take this chip off and see if that short goes. Right, so I'm going to add flux around it, and I'm going to take it off. Now I'm going to do this under the microscope. You already see me take it off in the first video, so it's not going to be that exciting. And then what I'll do is I'll promise I won't check it until I start filming, and we can check for the shorts live, and then we can see if those capacitor shorts have gone and also the inductors on the other side. If they have, it would be amazing. I'm just a bit worried. I'm going to think that they're probably not. But anyway, I'll get back to this when that chip is off. Sorry, I forgot to mention, I think at the beginning, I was told about a capacitor popping, and sure enough, when I was taking off that chip last time, I do remember a little bit of a bang, and you can see flux pour out here. I think it was just a build-up of flux underneath, because if I was to go onto ohms again, you can see I haven't actually got a problem with that capacitor there. Yeah, so you can see it's not shorted there, and this side is to ground anyway. So that capacitor there actually looks to be okay. I can't see any crack or anything on it on the top or the sides. I think it's purely a flux build up underneath that then just bursts this way out. Okay, it came off easy enough. No major explosions or anything like that. Now, move this out of the way. Zoom in a bit and try to get the reading in here as well. Go to ohms. Now, please, it'd be so good if it was this chip. So good, because it's a chip that can be replaced. Now, ground, is this ground here, just out of interest, in the middle? Yes, it is. Excellent. So it could be shortened to ground through the actual chip. Right, it was pin 1 here, wasn't it? 1 second, let me just look through the microscope, make sure I am actually on it. Oh my. Oh my. Oh. I was going to say it's good news, but now, do you know, I can't even see with the flux. Oh no. Oh no, the shot's got even worse. Right, where, 1 second. Oh, gutted. Nah, 24 ohm short, it's not that chip. Oh, what? I got my hopes up there for a second. Oh, that's so annoying. Oh, so annoying. Right, okay. I mean, I do say at the beginning of the videos that it's going to be a failure, blah, 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 but part of me does think that it might be fixable. Right, let's have a look at this one here. What's this reading now? Now, 27 ohm short. So, where's it coming from? It's not the chip. Where's that coming from? So all these capacitors here are shorting, you see, on that same amount. If I was to put voltage into here, because I think I'll have to double check. I think this is 3.3 volts. I have to double check that. If I was to put 1 voltage into here with a load of amps, I wonder at 40 ohms, would that be enough to show up somewhere? See, my experience with capacitors is that they're either shorted or they're not a 40 ohm short. I haven't had that before, which makes me think it's going to be more chip related. But it could be, I suppose, could it be a capacitor with a partial short going through it? I suppose it's possible, isn't it? I think I'm going to have to do maybe voltage injection. At 1 volt, I shouldn't be killing anything because the CPU is going to be running on more than that anyway, or at 1 volt. Let me double check the schematics. Right, what I'm thinking now is, if you have a look, this is the inductor, which we have the short on. Now this is going on to feed many other things. So if there was a short going up here and onwards, then it would also be going through the inductor. If I take the inductor off, at least I've kind of then isolated this part of the circuit here with this little capacitor next to the chip, because we're already taken the chip off. So at least it will mean that the fault is going to be from here onwards. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to take off this coil and then see if the short is on this side of the coil or this side of the coil. Alright, let's see which side it's coming from. Right, so that's 5,000 ohms that side. And at this moment, that's 3 ohms that side. Now, is that the same? That's the same as the ones going up here. Yeah, so it's not... Oh no, hold on. Is that clear? No. So it's not... It's weird how when the board's hot, the ohms are... It's more of a short, isn't it, when the board's warm? Right, that's a little bit annoying. So we've now gone away from the chip and we're heading more into the board. I hope I'm not chasing a red herring here. So now the capacitors this side of this chip here should now be okay. Yeah, which they are, 5,000. No, but we've got a short there. What does that mean? Right, so on this pin now, the short on pin here, pin 25 is gone, but 17, the short is still here. But if we go to the schematics, we can see that where it comes out at 17, here, this one here, it runs all the way along, down, it goes along here, and it goes up here, and look, it comes to this side of here, and then goes up here. So we've still got the short on this side here, and that's the reason we've still got the short on pin 17. So that's good. I just need to find out what's causing it. I mean, I suppose it could be any one of these capacitors, or it could be anything after this circuit here, this PP3VG3 hot, and I presume this is going to come up everywhere. If I do that there and then go to here, yeah, look, see, this thing comes up everywhere. Do you know what I mean? So any one of these components around here and all up here can be shorted under this chip here. I think I'm going to have to put voltage in, because how am I going to, otherwise I'll be taking off components all night long. Okay, so I've soldered a wire onto that bit there, and that is the bit where we have the short 35 ohms. So now I've got my bench power supply set to 1 volt and I've got it set to 5 amps. So if I short my leads together, you can see it will jump up to 5 amps. So hopefully, I wonder will that generate a little bit of heat or not. Now voltage injection is still new to me, but from what I've been told, 1 volt isn't going to harm anything because the CPU is designed to run on that volt, 1 volt. So what I'm going to use is, I'm going to use, so 1 volt now, I'm going to put that on there. And I am going to use this here because I've checked and that does short to these points here. So we are on. We are drawing 1 volt at just, oh, what is that? Is that constant voltage? Am I definitely on that right? Look, it's only drawing 160 milliamps. That's not going to generate anything, is it? So what's going on there? Does that suggest then that that's not a fault? I was expecting that to go a lot higher. I don't think I'm going to be able to fix this. So that's unfortunate, but I do cover it all in IPA, and hopefully this might be more sensitive because it might evaporate off quicker and give me an indication of what is heating up. But it doesn't, because I'm thinking 1 volt at that amperage is not going to generate any heat. So what I do is I unsolder the brown wire, I put the coil back on because we already know which side is shorting, and I'm going to up the voltage to 2 volts because at that side of the coil it is supposed to be 3.3 volts. Now I know that could be a bit dodgy going up to 2 volts because obviously if something's shorting we could end up putting those 2 volts into the CPU. But remember, this board already has had fluctuation voltage on the PPBUS off up to near enough 12 volts. So I presume on this coil, I think when I measured it before, I'm pretty sure it was fluctuating upwards of 2 volts anyway. So if the damage has already been done, then it's already been done. Putting another 2 volts to it is not going to cause any problems if I've already done that. So interestingly, when I do put 2 volts into it, we now see that this happens. Let me get my bench power supply. I've got it set to 2 volts and 5 amps. Yep, this is on the good board, and I'm going to go to ground here, and I'm going to touch it on the coil, and you will see it's not going to draw anything. So on that there now, and here, and can you see there we've got 1.99 volts is in constant voltage because it's not drawing any current. You can see all the zeros at the bottom. Now watch it when I do it on this one here. Again on it here, and now here. And can you see we are drawing a current? Let me make sure I'm on it, hold on. There, can you see 1.99 volts? And it's 0.8, so it's drawing 800 milliamps. Yeah? And more importantly, when I put IPA on here, you will see it melt away. So I'm going onto it now, and look, can you see it burning away? In that top corner there, the top middle bit there. See, burning away, yeah? Again, putting it on now, and you can see burning away. Let's zoom in a bit more. That V there. Ready? There. And can you see it's going there before any other part of the chip? I think that's where the short's originating from. I've done a wire on it again so I can easily see what's going on. Right, let's see if we can discover where it's coming from. Right, it's definitely over that right hand capacitor, but is it the capacitor or is it the chip? Do you know what? there's a chance it could be the capacitor, because by the time it hits the chip it seems to be quite wide. Excellent, let's turn that off. Imagine if it was, all this was because of that tiny, tiny, tiny capacitor. Right, let's get rid of that. Right, so if it was that capacitor, that 40 ohm short should be no more. Here we go. No. There you go. 5 ohm. And that will keep on going up now. So it looks like heating it up does change it. I don't think it's the chip. I don't think it's anything to do with any damage underneath. I think it's internally gone. Let's just put voltage into it again. Like 2 volts again. Yeah, it's still going from there, isn't it? I mean, we have got a row of capacitors feeding that whole area here. But again, 40 ohms, and look where it's burning away from. I know it's covered in flux and gone all horrible now. It's burning away from there, isn't it? Oh, is it up here? Well, should I just remove all the capacitors on that bit there? Because this is where the heat's coming from. Let me move all the capacitors, because I think they... I think there's a good 4 of them feeding that rail there. Let me get rid of them. So we've got... So these are all ground here anyway. Then we got this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I need to remove them 5. This is just an inductor, so that's not going to be on ground. And really, I suppose I need to remove that capacitor just to make sure, because that is ground there as well. Let's remove them all, and then we've kind of proved then it's coming from the chip, haven't we? Right, rather than make life hard for myself, what I've done is I've removed the inductors, because that's going to break the circuit there anyway, isn't it? Because they must be getting fed from there. Right, now let's see what's going on. So it'd be great now if I seen the fault going this way. Let's go on here. Ooh, 2 ohms short. 3 ohms short. Well, maybe I didn't need to take that one off. So, what's happening this side? Fantastic! It's not that chip! It's not that chip! Right, let's go onto these little pads here, where the capacitors were. There you go, look at that, we're in the kilo ohms. And go on to the other capacitor. Oh, I'm so happy. Right, that is fantastic. So now we need to work out what's going on back from here. Right, so we should still have that 40 ohm short on this one here. What? No, we haven't. What's that about? Right, we haven't got it going into the chip. But we have got it going up here. But yet we haven't got it any longer here. That is confusing. That is confusing. Right, schematic time. Should we plug in the power now? How warm are we? We're pretty warm still. Let's plug in the power. Let's see what's going on. See if it's going to do anything different. So we should still have fluctuating voltage. I wonder have we still got fluctuating voltage on the PPBUS. So that's still at 5 volts, that's not doing anything different. Let's see if this is still jumping around all over the place. I mean, we're not feeding that chip now, are we? So yes! At long last we have, yes! We've got PPBUS G3 hot. Look at it. Look at it. Okay, it should be 13.1 volts, 12.2. Fantastic. It's not jumping around anymore. Anonymous Repair, you're a legend. So you said that it was going to be a short pulling it down, and it was a short pulling it down. Obviously, we're still a long way from fixing it, but we now have a stable PPBUS. But the reason we haven't got it going to 20 volts, I presume, is because obviously it's not doing any communication with this chip here, if that's the voltage rail in. Oh, amazing, 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 amazing. Right, I wonder what sort of voltage we're going to have on this one here now. Let's see what that one's about. We've got 3.3 volts. We have got 3.3 volts there, but we're not going to have it here, are we? Yes, we have. Why have we got 3.3 volts there? I thought that was the feed. So is it this top one here which is shorting? What's going on? So we've got 3.3 volts there. So if we were to put the, so that means we have got voltage going into that chip then. Right, okay. Schematic time again. Right, bad news. So that's one of those inductors. That's the other inductor. You can see here that one of them goes into here, and remember this is where we had the burn-in. But if you have a look here, when I go to this side, yes, it goes to these capacitors here. So there is a chance that the 40 ohm short's coming from there. But again, it's unlikely. I'm pretty sure capacitors would just fail a dead short. And look at that one there, that also goes to those ones. But look where they all go to. They go to the T2 chip. So I suppose it's more likely, isn't it, that something's happened internally with the T2 chip. But it's not game over just yet, because look, if we go down here, yes, it goes to a load of capacitors underneath the T2 chip. Yes, underneath the T2 chip, so it could be something there. Or, look, we've got 4 capacitors lined up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you look here, ground, this is all ground, so there's a chance that maybe one of these ones here has gone 40. So I took off those 4 capacitors, just slid them down onto one pad so I didn't lose them, and they were testing okay. And also, when I put the inductor back, the same fault is still there. So it's not these capacitors causing the fault, because when I take them out of the circuit, the fault is still there. I also did the capacitors up by the coils that I took off, you know, the inductors. And again, when I put the inductors back, the fault is still present. So it's not those capacitors either, which I kind of guess, because in my experience, the capacitors go full short, but I'm not sure about these active shorts, which only occur when you have voltage in them. Real weird one, this one. So yeah, it's not the capacitors on those parts of the circuits as far as I can see. So now we move on to this bit where I make an interesting discovery. Okay, this is extremely exciting times for me. So, you know that I took these 2 off, and well, I took 3 off. I then put this one back because this is on a different rail than these 2. And then I put this one back, and I've still got steady PPBUS underscore G3 hot, and also the 3.3 volts going into this chip here. I've tested all these capacitors here, they're testing fine. Then I've been looking at the schematics on these 2, and they're both doing, I don't quite get it, they're both doing different things like switch 0 and switch 1, but yet they end up in the same place. So I thought, I wonder what happens if I just put one back. So I just put this one back. I plugged the charger in. I had 20 volts, but I only did it for a second because I got nervous, and also I wanted to get the real reaction on camera. A little bit out of breath, if I'm honest with you. So I I put this one back. And now that I've put this one back, I've got the same thing going on as before. Voltage jumping around, and also I haven't got a steady 3.3 volts. I've got the same problem. So we've narrowed it down to this one here. Now it's not a fault with the inductor. Inductors is just acting as a coil. I believe it's a fault in here. But if we can get 20 volts without this, I'll show you the schematics. If it's switch 0 and switch 1, I wonder why we need 2. Is it just kind of like phase 1 and phase 2 to give a good power supply to this chip or to wherever this feeds to afterwards? I'm wondering whether we would get away with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the capacitors back on. I'm going to take this chip off here and the inductor off here, and let's see if we have the 20 volts. I suppose really I don't need to put those two capacitors on there, but the capacitors to me look to be okay. So I'm just going to whack them all back on. So let me get these back on, and then I'll start filming again before the turn on, and I hope we can see 20 volts again. Okay, I've soldered them back on, so you can see the capacitors placed on here. That inductor's there, but look, this pad here is missing. So this is the one with no inductor. So now this is different than when I seen the 20 volts. I must stress it was only for 1 second. I quickly unplugged it because I didn't want to cause any damage, and also I wanted to get it on camera just in case it was going to blow up. I want to get that on camera. Now, if I don't get anything here, maybe I'll have to remove those capacitors again. But they're not testing 40. I tested them each individually on my mat, and they're in the mega ohms between them. Please, please, please. I don't know if I will be able to contain myself. I have to be sensible. Here goes. Still a bit warm. Please give me 20 volts. Come on, please. Please give me 20 volts. Come on, come on. Yes! Yes, 20 volts. 24 amps. 70! Yes! Right, okay. Oh my God. Right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Unbelievable. Right, let me show you the schematics to show you what that rail is. Okay, so this is the row of capacitors here, and these are the two inductors. So if you have a look, this inductor here is called 7816, and this one's called 7817. This one is in place. This is the one I've removed. So I've removed 7816. Now, if we go to here, you will see where they come out of. So they come out of this chip, and we've got 7816 and 7817. I've already forgotten which one I've removed. I've removed 16, okay, the lesser one. So I've removed this one here, yeah? But if you have a look, they both come out here, and it looks like SW0, would that mean switch 0 and switch 1? But if you have a look, they both then go onto the same rail here. So we've got one lot here, but then they both go onto the same rail here, which goes down to this way, which is PPOV9, so that would be the 0.9 volt rail, SLP DDR. Why do we need two? Obviously we do. Is it just to make it better? Would we get away with one? I don't know. Let's get the board back into the actual MacBook and see whether we've got any life. I've got the shakes. Okay, oh, I'm so nervous. Let's see now what's going to happen. Let's plug the battery in. Hopefully it won't go bang. This battery's completely depleted anyway. Battery's in. Okay, there's no weird noises just yet. Let's plug in the charger. Here goes. Come on. 20 volts. 0.9, 17.17 amps. Is it going to jump up? Ooh. No. Oh! Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Come on. Oh! Oh my God. Oh! Look at that. Oh, let me just cover that up in case there's going to be somebody's name there. How good is that? Oh my God. Anonymous Repair, I thank you. I thank you, each and every one of you who's helped me out in the comments. I mean, I don't know whether it's fully going to load up or not, but that's just unbelievable that we got the Apple logo. I'm happy. That, as far as I'm concerned, that is a success. But is it going to go any further? Fans ramping up. Okay, so fan works. even though it's out there all on its own. Oh, is it going to go any further? Oh, check out the joy and the jubilation at seeing that Apple logo and hearing that bong noise. How good must I feel? How long did that feeling last for? Well, the truth of the matter is not very long, because somehow my mate Vince has managed to make a 2020 MacBook Air, which has maybe not the best reviews, but not a bad computer, into something which Charles Babbage, the father of the computer, 100 and something years previously, would be disgusted by. I can't explain how long this thing took to load up, not just once, but every single time I tried resetting the SMC, is it, or the PRAM, all those different things that you can do to fix faults on your Apple. But no, this thing is so slow, it is painful. I would honestly say working on it would be worse than pretty much most torture methods used to extract information out of people. It is excruciatingly painful. Anyway, let me cut to the next day where you can roughly see the speed of the thing. Ta-da! It is working really, really, really badly. Oh, I'm so disappointed. It looks lovely, but it's not charging. And this is the next day now. And also, it's the fan. The fan's just going constantly at the same speed, non-stop. Now, I haven't used one of these before, but there's no way that should be that noisy all the time. It would drive you up the wall. So it's kind of strange, because when you move the cursor around and stuff, like everything is super responsive, and you know, it's like really responsive and all that works fine. But whenever you try to do anything, even turning it on, it honestly takes about 5 minutes to get to this point here. Everything works. I've connected it to Wi-Fi, and you can see there it is the 8th of January. That is the correct time. But it's just super, 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 super slow, like unbelievably slow. It's like working on modern websites on maybe a laptop from 1998 or something like that. It is just, it's unbearable. It really is unbearable. For example, watch this one now. If I go up to the battery thing here, and if I left click, it doesn't come up, but it will come up. You can see it's wearing away. There you go. But that just takes too long. To be fair, that wasn't too bad. If I was to click on this one here, I've clicked now. It's probably going to behave itself now. But I tried playing a YouTube video. Well, there you go. You can see how long that's taken. I tried playing a YouTube video, and it does play, but again, it takes forever. You can see there, it takes forever to go on. But Bluetooth and stuff, it's all there. Display brightness is working. Sound's working. It's all working, just unbelievably slow. So, what do I do? Well, obviously, there's not much more I can do. I think the fault is under the T2 chip. So I'm going to show you the schematics now. Sorry, forgot to mention, I'm just shutting this down here now, that it's RAM's working. I've done the diagnostics and stuff. It's showing up as DDR4. Storage is working. That's showing up like correctly. Everything is looking correct. It's just super slow. So obviously the lines that that line that I've disconnected must be feeding half of that T2 chip, and it's not happy at all. Okay, so this is the inductor up here, and this is the line we're dealing with, the P0V9 SLP DDR DDR. Ah, would this be to do with the RAM then? Maybe that's why it's so slow, because we've only got one lot of just, maybe just, not even just half of the RAM, maybe we've only got a tiny bit of the RAM working. Maybe it's nothing to do with that, I don't know. But anyway, it goes down here, and down here. If we look down here, so there's nothing I can do about underneath that chip there. That's got like too many balls. That's not going to happen. But look, we've already taken off the capacitors here, so we know it's not them. But look at these capacitors here. It goes to loads of them here. And these are weird little things where we have like a contact there and there, but then these are ground and ground. So maybe there's something on one of these, which is when it's powered, it's shorting it to ground. Yeah? And that's what's causing it to knock out the whole system. Wouldn't it be great if it was just one of these capacitors? Bad news, I have taken off every single capacitor on that circuit there. You can see I've got some here, I've got some here. I've even taken off the resistor. I've taken off everything that is on that line going down that way. And when we plug it in, we only have the 5 volts again. It's not jumping up to 20. So 100% it is something under that T2 chip or on the T2 chip. Either way, it is not repairable with the equipment and stuff that I have. I don't even know whether people do work on these T2s or not. That's a real shame. So you can see I've put the inductor back on, and when I've got the inductor back on, it's not working, and there's nothing wrong with that inductor. This one here. So yeah, I'm going to put the capacitors back on, take off the inductor, and just leave it as a working MacBook that is ridiculously slow. It will never be used. Probably it will just be used for spares to fix up other MacBooks. Okay, I've popped all the capacitors back on. That was quite a long process. So everything's back on now apart from that little inductor. Now I'm going to do something silly. This isn't a working laptop at the moment anyway. The DFU, I can't see how it can be that, because this isn't even going to turn on with that inductor in place. So I've put flux around the T2 chip. I'm going to heat it up. I don't think I'm going to do it enough to reflow it. I'm not going to tap it with my tweezers, because 1,000 balls, one tap, numerous balls will bridge together. I'm just going to apply heat to it for a good minute. I might even do 2 minutes. My hot air station takes a long time to heat up boards like this, just to see if the flux can work its way underneath, in case it is corrosion related. I don't believe it is. I think something else has happened, maybe due to the water. It might not even be water related at all. I think that chip itself has got the problem rather than the balls underneath. I think it's an internal problem. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to do, and then put it in the ultrasonic cleaner again, and do, I don't know, 3-4 minutes each side, get rid of all the horrible flux. Hopefully the board will look nice again, and then I'll pop it back in, and hopefully we will still have a laptop that looks pretty, but that is all it does. Okay, the reflow has been done. Well, not the reflow, but the heat up. I only did it for about a minute because it's the capacitors around the edge. Maybe it's because it was contained in this kind of square shield thing here. They went shiny very quick, so I kept it on for about 20 seconds or so after they went shiny. So now I'm going to let it cool down without moving it, and then pop it in the ultrasonic cleaner and see if it's still working. Welcome to the world's slowest 2020 MacBook Air. Good news is it's not tingling anymore, so I can't feel any tingling, even though I quite liked it, by using this lead here. Weird thing is, this time round, for some reason, it's just charging at 14.6 volts. But when I first plugged it in, it was 20 volts, so I don't know. So yeah, there we have it. I don't think there's going to be another revisit on this one. If I was to get hold of another Mac, then I could try the USB-C thing. It's kind of pointless now because I've disconnected that inductor on the inside, and when I put the inductor back, it knocks it out completely, so I can't see it working. Thanks for sticking around. Apologies I couldn't get it fully working, but I really did try my very best on this, and hopefully now, if I was to come across this particular MacBook, not others but this one, I would definitely know the early rails more than I did when I started. So in the end, I ended up learning quite a bit in this one. So yeah, that is it for this video. Hopefully you got some enjoyment from it. Massive thanks to everyone that helped out on this one, and I will see you all very soon. Take care.
Trying to fix it with my methods could be hard, or it could be a cinch. Can you fix it, my oh my? At least I'm gonna try.